This for 17 years. It's actually quite incredible I'm still doing it. It's just never the same. So my gift or my service would be to help you meditate on what would happen if you were doing this for a long time. What would be your experimentations? Would be many. But to be able to hold a structure, for me it's been global. I was holding it in a global space. It was never just one or two countries, so I needed a way that would speak to all the demographics, age groups, institutions. Right now, inner dance is now part of the school curriculum in the Philippines. We're literally designing with the Department of Education a schooling system. We're even building the classrooms from the ground up, like actual classrooms. We might be handling about 15,000 students. And we found a way to train the teachers using inner dance as a tool that's not just about laying down, but how to acquire wisdom even as you acquire knowledge. Around the world, this is now part of addiction center programs. We're doing this in the jails. That's amazing. All that is justice here. We've been training doctors. Now we're able to understand possible medical protocols. Yesterday we had a talk about the medical system. So we're not going to be bringing that up this weekend. That talk was recorded. You can always have access to that if you want to understand the chemistries, the circuitries that are at work when we're helping the body manage hormones and neurotransmitters and enzymes, brain waves, neural oscillations, synaptic connections, action potentials. Some of those might take months or years to study, and it's enjoyable because when you learn, you're actually learning about yourself. And when you share that, it will help you hold something more responsible. Some of you have had a lot of experiences will be able to slot that information. You almost need to be practicing to understand some of this, otherwise they're conceptual and it's hard to hold. We're working with companies as well. We've worked with governments in the past. So for those who are approaching this from the energetic construct, understand inner dance is not just a healing modality. It's not just a spiritual discipline. It's life. It gives us a blueprint for oneness to build the structures upon. And I know I come from a part of the world where it's easier to introduce the strange, the weird, the mystical into the system. But the fact that it's possible is really amazing. So we're going to be focusing more and more on these projects, and we'll actually be holding less and less these spiritual journeys because it's already happening around the world anyway, and it doesn't need so much clarification. But if we were to still offer you 17 years worth of experience, what would you end up with if left to your own? You actually learn the most through mistakes. And that's what I can offer you, that the mistakes have happened. I mean, there is a space where there are no mistakes. But when you are opening the floodgates, you have to be open to people going through the process where change happens and you never know what that's going to look like. Would that look like aphasia, psychosis, someone getting a divorce, someone quitting their job, people going down into the rabbit hole? What do you do? The more success you have, the more you're going to bring people into the dark night of the soul. So do it for a decade, and what would show up would be patterns, pattern recognition. And because there's so many patterns, people see colors, people see shapes, geometries. What would be the patterns that's meta? That would be the pattern where all other patterns would fit. I like using metaphors. It's like your room is your body and your mind. Are you happy with your room? Or does your room need reorganizing? Inner dance, ID, interior design. So you push things around. Okay, that couch belongs somewhere else. The library, I like it there. I need a new lamp. You need to organize your room. A lot of people who come into the process, because crisis is the spiritual opening most commonly, a lot of people are on the way to disorganizing, to try to find a better order. And they're needing the chaos that will bring about highest order. And when you do that, everything would show up. So, here's something we realized that I think is the most exciting, scientific, spiritual systematicity. In the beginning, people would go possibly into a 0 point, like a baby stage, back into the womb, where in your exhaustion, like I'm tired of all these details, these stories. I'm sick of it. I want something different. I want something new from the old. So like a child, something would grow. I was interested in the experiences because there were so many different kinds, but the deepest were only actually two, when they reached 0 point. And I kept hearing it, and I only realized it later, oh, okay, that just keeps repeating. One was the experience of going back to the womb of the mother. I've heard that since the beginning. Like people kept saying, I went back to I don't understand. I went back to the womb. I went back to the beginning. And the other deep experience would be in the statement, I went back to the earth. I went back to the earth. I don't understand how it happened, but somehow I went back to the earth. So in my mind, these two are interlinked. The story of the earth is the story of the human. It's actually the same. They're built in the same construct. It doesn't make sense. The earth is 4 billion years old. How old are you? And then you ask yourself again, like, how old am I? I mean, really? Like, how old really am I? If I think about where I'm coming from. Those are two very different streams. Developmental psychology is interested in how you grow from the baby. Evolutionary psychology would think about how did you grow as a species. Ontology recapitulates phylogeny, a very expensive term that describes what I just said somehow. Like in every cell, every molecule, there's legacy or lineage or memories. The memories of all the species that ever faced death, that ever survived, that ever lived here to experience the earth. And so Earth somehow isn't really a planet. It's a memory bank. It's a USB stick. So this would be your choice. Depending on what you do, how you hold the music, how you hold the body, how you hold context through language, which contains the possible narrative, and there will always be narrative. If you don't like narrative, it's very simple, die. You give a human being 2 or 3 points, they're going to construct a story out of it. They're always going to find connections, they're always going to sequence, because that's time. Causality. I mean, a baby doesn't need to do that. So some of your experiences you will realize are holding the person. Some of the experiences will hold the planet. That would be your choice. You actually can hold the energy that the person goes into the person. And I'm not going to invalidate that. However boring that might seem, like, oh, person again. I'm interested in the cosmic. But there are ways of sequencing music, usually one at a time. And the easiest way to do that would be to use songs. It doesn't matter if it's by Beyonce, Michael Jackson, or even something from the East or the South. And a lot of people are using songs. There's a reason why we're not using songs. Because there have been so many stories of the person that have already come up. And we realized we're also interested in the planet. This is why we talk about time and space. When you deal with sequential musicality, you will bring about memories of 3 years old, 4 years old, maybe even the future, and people are talking to mom, dad. And when you layer sounds more across space, and a lot of facilitators around the world are using noise a lot more than music, it brings people back to the earth. What we're trying to do now, which is interesting, is how do you hold person and planet at the same time? We decided that this weekend we're going to do 3 journeys. One is going to be called the becoming space of time. The second will be stay there in space. And the third, which is going to be tomorrow afternoon, is the becoming time of space. In other words, we're going to journey from the point of you going into the point that's not a point, and then you're going to explore what is there, which is a kind of death, a enjoyable death. And then whilst we do that, we're going to study in this beautiful, born in Belgium church, a lot of bees. How do we do that? Right? And then how do we apply that in schools? I mean, how do we do that for kids? We're going to design the journey. That's so empowering. Is it possible that I can actually design the journey? I can take them to China, I can take them to Egypt, even if they don't have a passport, maybe a spaceship, take them there. Is it actually possible that you can design the journey? Because a lot of facilitators, what they're doing is, I'm going to throw random elements. Here's a big pot. Heat the water, okay, throw in an onion, throw in like a mushroom, magical one. And then you hope to the best of your, some ayahuasca here and there, some orange juice, some ketchup, Belgian beer, Belgian chocolate, Belgian waffles, hoping somehow that that's going to be not so yucky, it's going to be yummy. And it's actually quite strange to have to keep doing that again and again. To hope that a narrative, a healing, would happen. So what we need to introduce to you today and tomorrow, for us to really be able to serve you, to support you, to help you, is how to bring to you the history of inner dance. And there are many histories of inner dance. A lot of it really began as personal. A lot of the copy-paste mechanisms out there are very personal because it actually held the peak experience of inner dance when it was very, very personal in 2017, before we really went into more research. And then to look at the other histories. Now, a lot of those histories have technological counterparts. Inner dance evolved with technology, so that when we began to do this, it began in my story when I was energy, and I was God, I was goddess, I was earth. I was looking around, everything was energy, everyone was energy. I touched people, they became energy, everyone was becoming energy. I didn't need music at that time. The biggest problem with that was people just kept lining up and say, I want to become energy pi. So they would line up and I would touch them, and it was horrible because I was just doing that the whole day. They didn't give me time to rest, to have lunch, and to walk around. It's like there's got to be a better way that's not dependent on this idea of transmission, of reliance. Because for me, independence is the greatest gift you can ever give another soul. And when there's dependency, you actually enslave people. When you say, I am the source of the energy, and every time you need me, you can go do what you need to do, drink up, go smoke, go party, go wild, and every time you're tired, you don't need to take responsibility. I will be there to energize you. I didn't want to do that. That didn't seem to create a new system. That just seemed to repeat a very, very old system. So I knew there was a tool, somehow, somewhere. And so my mom gave me a gift. It was one of those first touch-screen iPods. And it was filled with songs. My brother put thousands of songs there. And I was a musician back in the time, and I realized, is it really, really just music? I mean, what is music? How old is music? And what has been the role of music in organizing thought and mind, body, and brain? So I realized that there was a way of sequencing songs one at a time that actually brought people deep, super deep. Like in the beginning, in the history, people were even laying down. They were sitting up, and I would touch them, and they would go. And then I realized some people weren't going into it. So I asked them, lay down. I will press play. And when I pressed play, I discovered a wave very early. I kept drawing. Later, I realized what that wave was. It was the story of the earth. Scientists call that the circadian rhythms, or the sleep cycle that goes through non-REM 1, 2, 3, N2, stage 4, REM state, back to N2. There's maybe 7 to 12 stages of that. That's the story of the earth. That belongs to the sun and the moon always becoming each other. So that spread. That was the technology that first spread. It was really interesting because in the early years, everyone in the world was using the same songs. Everyone around the whole world was using the same songs. There was something in those songs that held emotions, insight, power, letting go. So I think the growth began when we stopped using the same songs, and probably that began in 2015 or 16. 9 years or 10 years after, and our dance had been spread, enough notes had been taken, we started to use DJ apps on the phones. We realized when you put a song on top of another song, when people are there journeying through Saturn, Jupiter, it created another dimension in the brain because they weren't so much in time, they were more in space. So we kept doing that and kept doing that. We kept adding more and more stuff into the pot. Okay, let's throw a shoe there. Let's throw, like whatever, like a leaf, like maybe an eyeball, maybe, I don't know, let's do stuff there. And then more patterns came up. And I think what we saw eventually was a whole science. There was a whole science of change, a science based in change, not on stasis, not on fear, but a science based on trust and a science based on oneness. So now we're constructing music. We don't like to use music that was pre-recorded. The goal or the interest was, what would energy compose? If energy itself could construct the music, what would it say? If it wasn't just coming from Madonna. I'm so old school. I'm so old school. So you want to explore this. You want to bring in stuff from the Orient, not just Western music. You want to bring in the didgeridoo. You want to bring in the tabla. You want to, and then you actually can take the recorded sounds from space and that put that in and see what that would do. Because the subliminal body, the liminal, subliminal body, they can take that. They can take it. So my process now is to, precursor. I've been on a long retreat. Like I started in 2017. I stopped working in 2017 because I knew this is not ready yet. It's not, the notes aren't ready. There's a lot that we don't understand that leads to some of those problems that I spoke about. The first is addiction. People were getting addicted to the energy. People were releasing so much dopamine into the basal ganglia, into the limbic system, into the nucleus accumbens, that when there's actually too much body movement, there's a focalization of the spread of information in the brain that was wired mostly in the frontal lobe. So it was already a stuckness that people were romanticizing that your body needs to move. And facilitation was pretty much like, okay, I need to press this enough so that it would explode. That's a category mistake. That actually can trap people into what's called a loop, a dopaminergic loop. And when people keep experiencing the high or the ecstasy, there are many possibilities that could happen. One is the brain would shut down. A thinking aspect of the brain would shut down. Memory centers would shut down. The hippocampal entorhinal cortex area would shut down. People are not going to be able to handle information. It's going to be harder to read, write, to focus. It's going to lead to attention deficiency, always in a hurry, and unable to handle velocity, speed, timings, sequentiality. The second I've spoken about, it could lead to ego inflation. Really big, fat ego inflation. Like, I am the center of the universe. There's a word for that. It's called solipsism. It is part of the awakening process. It's part of philosophy. It's when you invalidate the world and you invalidate yourself, and when you come back, you become like a child. And a 2-year-old, it's all about them. Any 2-year-old experiences like, I'm the only universe, mom or dad, I don't care, and then you need to be revolving around the center of the universe. You call it 2-year-old. 3-year-old is still a little bit like that. When you grow up, that's the process of growing up, that no, I'm not the only universe. I need to learn how to live in a system. So these two platforms are intrinsically important. You need to validate both of them. The planet and the person needs to be both held like in the journey. And as I come back from my retreat, my research, I came to Europe last year, and my message back then was, I have the notes now. They are my notes. They are also Inner Dance's notes. There's a lot that I don't know. There's just what I myself have also put together working with the energy, having been at it for 17 years. Other people probably have amazing notes as well. Go look at them. And then I went back to Asia. We experienced this typhoon in the Philippines a year and a half ago, where everything was destroyed. So because everything was uploaded to the cloud, even though we had to reconstruct the communities around us, something had stabilized anyway. So it took us another year, and now we're back. And we have enough to at least put forward both to the spiritual and to the scientific. How can this contribute to the understanding of the study of the changing of consciousness that's accelerating, that is more and more happening, faster in a way that's hard to hold and keep up with? So that took a lot of time. Italy knows how much I work. It would be a bare minimum of 10 hours a day. That's minimum. I don't sleep. You don't want to think of how maximum I work. And very often I could be taking care of my kids. I could be driving, but I'm still working. I'm always working. It doesn't stop working. I actually get tired when I'm not working. Because for me, working is about, does it work? And when I know it's working, that it's coherent, it's correspondent, and it's pragmatic, I'm actually at rest. Even though I'm dynamically there, always there with the people, with the information. The way it works is you need to put together a whole bunch of small things. And all those small things are actually big things. And you need to train your mind and your body to do all those small things. How to learn some programs, how to hold the content. Each content is a box, a folder, a container. And all those containers hold more and more containers. So now, Inner Dance holds an understanding of language. Inner Dance is a linguistics. Inner Dance is a neurology. Inner Dance is a psychology. Inner Dance is a community building process. Inner Dance is a pedagogy. It's a medical curriculum. Inner Dance is all of those. And I say this even in that space where I don't even want to use Inner Dance as a word. When you get emails from us, notice how we try not to capitalize Inner Dance. It's all in small letters. We can't even capitalize it. Why would you capitalize in an energy anyway? It's weird to capitalize on it. So this is what we would explore today. This is with people who are experiencing other modalities that are related to Inner Dance, and this is even within Inner Dance. Like a lot of people who belong to the old Inner Dance processes, they're also catching up with the different modes. So depending on when people enter the field, that could have been a training, that could have been a set of processes. the way we were holding things in 2012, 2009, 2014, 16, 18, they all have histories, is essentially what I'm trying to say. These are reflections of different histories of the world. So how we would call it are historicities. There's a difference between a history and a historicity. And our hope now is each journey can actually hold those histories together. So when you receive a playlist from others or from us, it would be interesting for you to actually understand that. There's a reason why certain ones seem spacey, certain ones seem more rhythmic. Rhythmic is time, spacey is space. And then there are shifts between this and that. So I thought maybe a good way to look at this is to invite someone from the old inner dance process who's coming into the new inner dance process to see what would be there in conversation. She probably knows this is coming. So we would love to borrow your body. Okay, you started it, this inner dance Belgium thing. Maybe Italy. Close your eyes. Time and space, selection, and then combination. Yeah. Each rhythm organizes time. expression of love and light embodied. What is the birth vision? For the species. It did not take much to move from the monkey to the human. A very small percentage in the DNA. It will not take much to move from the human to the next. So sensing the body, cellular, go down to the smallest elements, the monad, the smallest particle. Keep dividing into the smallest part. And then look inside. Everything is perfect. Everyone is pure. Everything we need is inside. We are the source. Re means to go back. Resource. To the last moment. I trust everything. Everything is sacred. Nothing is wasted. Stay. Holding it. Good. Holding the incarnation. Holding it. Even as you, when you are able, slowly, able to open. When you're ready, slowly able to open your eyes. Thank you. Come. Once again. Thank you, Yala. Thank you, Eden. You okay?
I'm still shaking.
Good. Good.
Yeah, I'm still really vibrating. There's a lot of energy. My hands. Yeah, it really felt like an initiation. I would say. Really. Also, like something like letting go of bodies that I facilitated in the past. That was also.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know that.
As if they were still somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which the bodies are stories. Yeah.
Yeah. So like letting go of that. Yeah. And then also this circle that I have a lot when I'm facilitating or at the end of a session. This infinite circle. Yeah. Well, this movement. It's hard to put in words.
Yeah.
But
I think
it was very intense.
I think it has been just
very
you
intense.
being there, the situation, all the situations within this one situation. That brings us to readiness. We're going to take a short break, and then we will rearrange the whole thing. We're going to disorganize and reorganize the thing. Yeah, we need to remove the yellow thing so that there's more space. We're going to do a 2-hour journey, which is long, but that's becoming the new standard, the new normal. You can feel free to walk in and out. If you have an insight, you need to write it down or go to the toilet when you're there. For those who understand how holding is, and there are people who will help to hold, who are part of the community that we've been working with, they will be holding. But anyone who knows how to hold, if you feel called to stand up later and just hold. But this would be good to be a sacred moment to really just go in as well. I don't think actually bodies need as much holding today. That is part of the process. But the holding will be really important. Holding the context, holding the codes, holding the space, just containing the space. So after this, when we go on a break, try not to go too much into your talk and your speech, just so you can maintain your intentionality. And then find your spot. Find your one point in the universe. Find that one point. 10 minutes? See you on the other side.
Let's put all the water bottles and extra stuff to the side.
What's singing? What's singing?
Yala is one of the inner dance people in.
Wow.